Hey, this is Mike Seagraves with No Ceiling Real Estate, bringing you the next class on 4 steps to buying REO properties. In buying REO properties, the first thing we need to do is understand what are REO properties. It stands for real estate owned and is also synonymously known as foreclosures. And so when you hear the term REO or foreclosures in the industry, it is synonymous with each other, interchangeably used amongst people in the industry. So with realtors and such, you would hear a lot of times more of the REO than you would hear the foreclosure. But what that is someone who lives in a residence has quit making payments over a period of time, and the lending institution that's holding the note has filed for foreclosure. And when foreclosure takes place, it has to be made public that they are filing foreclosure, and that's what we call the sheriff's sale. At the completion of the sheriff's sale, the bank typically buys back the property because they have mortgage insurance, and that is why a lot of times you see the banks buy them back because the note is usually greater than what it sells for, on the open market. Once the bank gets that property back, that kind of leads me into step two: who sells the REO properties? So at the end of the day, it has to be made public at the sheriff's sale, and then the bank takes possession. And once they take possession, then they will preserve the asset. They refer to it a lot of times as the asset. That is an asset on their books. And in a foreclosure situation, as it relates to the lending institution, they would refer to it as uh, a non-functioning or a negative asset because it's a negative on their books. So, how do you put yourself in the best position to purchase an REO property? That would be our third step. The third step is I would encourage you to develop relationships with your real estate community. I would ask you to seek out the REO agents that exist in your neighborhood or the area that you're looking to purchase properties in. Most REO agents have a list of properties that they know they're going to list in the future. I myself have been an REO agent over the last 18 years, and I have anywhere from 20 to 60 properties at any given time that some banking institution will give me to do property management with. So what we do is we act as a property manager for those assets until such time that the bank can list. So that kind of leads us to what makes a bank list a property. In Ohio, where I am, we are what we call a non-confirmation state. And in Ohio, the banks cannot legally sell something they don't own. And so it has to get past that non-conforming status and non-confirmation piece. And what that means is that when the sheriff's sale happened, there was a deed that was recorded, and when that deed is recorded and stamped at the county, then the bank at that point legally owns the property and can do with whatever they wish with the property. They can list it for whatever, they can sell it. At what point they have the ability to sell it, they would go back to the REO agent and say, here's the listing price, go do your thing, put the sign in the yard, market the property. So developing that relationship would help you to kind of be in the know with what's coming down the market and what areas of foreclosures start to exist. What the other thing you could do while you wait for those properties is having your financing in order. And so in many instances, REO properties are purchased for cash. The reason is there's a lot of investors in that market purchasing properties, but the other reason it's cash is because a lot of times the properties are in such disrepair or in such negative um, decline, I guess, that they just are not able to get a loan on them. So I guess what I would tell you to do is get your finances in order. If that means being pre-approved with a bank to be able to purchase these properties, and if they're not able to be purchased with a loan, what's the alternative, which would have to be cash. So then the next thing you do is you want to kind of get on that REO agent's list, if they have one, is to kind of get on their list to say, hey, will you call me when this becomes active so that I can get in here and at least see if it's something I have interest in. So that's the completion of step 3. Step 4, you need to understand the challenges of purchasing an REO property. Many of the banks are their mission statement, and so without naming names, the bigger banks out there, or the bigger REO institutions, their mission statement is to cater to and help for owner occupant purchases. So example being, if you made a cash deal for $100,000 and an owner occupant made a financing deal for $98,000, chances are they're probably going to go to the $98,000 because they want to cater to owner occupants more so than investors. So much so that some of the banks that I work with will only consider owner occupant offers in the first 15 to 17 days. Each institution is different and makes their own rules. At some point, they'll then open it up to investors. One of the restrictions there, and one of the things I would caution you on, is if you are an investor trying to purchase as an owner-occupant, they will investigate that this is in fact owner-occupant. And I'm even hearing rumors in the industry that they're going to start cracking down on this and fining individuals who are trying to dupe the system as an investor, stating that they're owner-occupants when in reality they're truly investors. So I would tell you to be cautious of that. One of the other challenges in purchasing REO properties is there are institutions out there that are putting deed restrictions on these properties when you purchase them. One of the things that I know I deal with is I've got an institution that when you buy a foreclosure, the deed will say something to the effect of that you, the buyer, cannot convey the property for more than 120% of your purchase price within so many days, and in many instances it's 6 months. So let's give you an example. So let's say you buy it for $100,000. You can't convey it for more than $120,000 in the first 6 months. If that's the case, and you're somebody who's looking to flip a property, chances are that's a negative deed restriction that you would want to see. So you want to make sure there's no deed restrictions that work against you and your business model. The other challenges, again, would be financing, which would be cash. A lot of the REO properties do not have the ability to get a loan because of their condition. For example, if a property is missing carpet, it is considered a non-lendable property unless that floor is hardwood floors, and then that would be considered lendable. Lending restrictions, I would tell you to fall back on your lender. And so one of the restrictions or challenges you're going to have would be cash, and not everybody has it, so that would be a challenge. The last challenge I would talk to you about would be competition. So the biggest challenge that I see as it pertains to this is there's a lot of individuals that have different business models. Some people are buying properties and selling them. Some people are buying properties and renting them. Some people are buying properties and flipping them. So you've got a lot of opportunities to have competition. And so the best way that you can handle that is to kind of fall back into getting to know who the REO players are, the agents in the market, kind of following a property of, for instance, to see who's going to list it, when they're going to list it, what's the price, what's the best way to get in. Knowledge and understanding the industry is the best remedy for handling competition. So with that said, this is Mike Seagraves with No Ceiling Real Estate. Wish you the best. Take care.